Hey everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to Project Ben Button. Ben is a 1995 Subaru Impreza L Special Edition. It is a automatic front wheel drive economy car. From the looks of it, as you can see, I got it pretty used up and beat, but I have plans for it. This is the base model in North America. Obviously, there's some variants, the better ones being overseas like Japan and UK, but I think this car has tons of potential. So, to recap, this car has a 1.8, 110 horsepower, it's front wheel drive, and it's automatic. And I'm going to convert it to something a little more fun. Fun to me means something that I can drive on the street and an occasional track day. It also means that I want around 350 wheel horsepower for this chassis. I want to handle pretty well, and I don't want to have to get any special fuels or do any crazy processes or not enjoy driving the car on the street. It also means I have to have reliable power. In terms of aesthetics, I'm not really sold on, or I don't want it to be very overt. I just kind of want it to be normal to the average person. And another goal for this vehicle is to do as much as I can by myself. And then what I can't do, I'll learn from somebody else or just learn along the way. I think that's really one of the main parts of the project. In terms of the video, I really just want to share the experience and progress of the build. If you guys have any questions, if you're thinking about doing or doing this kind of swap, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions if you put them in the comments. And in general, I'm going to share some DIY stuff like, maintenance, maybe some paint correction things. With that being said, also I'm going to share other YouTube pages that I found helpful for either this project or I find interesting in general. So I'll put those links in the description and I'll shout them out throughout the video. I will also say that a lot of the first couple of videos are going to be more pictures because it was just too much to film. So jumping into it, the first thing I want to talk about is space. You're going to need a lot of space to work on the project. I'm using a donor car and I have the car that I'm putting everything into. So that's two spaces that cars need to fit in. And then you got to account for parts because you're going to have both the cars stripped out completely. So you need space for those parts. So therefore you need a third space. So my recommendation is having at least 3 car spaces worth of space that you can work in and that you're going to be using up for a good while. Here's a video of the car once it's also all the major components are taken out. I have the engine, the trans removed, all the suspension components. In this case, because it was front wheel drive, I also had to remove the rear diff, all of those suspension components, and the gas tank. The gas tank has to be removed because in the front wheel drive version, it's not a saddlebag style, so you can't fit the rear drivetrain in a front wheel drive gas tank. So with that being said, while you have everything out, take that time to clean up everything, to get any rust spots, sand them down, whatever, and spray them with undercoating. So now this is the engine bay after I've taken everything out. To clean this up, I would point you towards a page that I found very useful. It's Chris Fix. He tells you how to clean your engine bay and do it a dry style. I clean this engine bay with the dry version that he put up. As you can see, after doing it, it looks like a really, really clean engine bay. There's still some things I have to take out, like the fuel lines and other little brackets and stuff, but this is what it looks like, but just by doing a pretty basic clean. I primed the engine bay because I obviously wanted to paint a different color. I used to go with matte black a lot in my other projects because it makes the other things in the engine pop, but what I found is the gloss finish actually cleans up a little bit better. So this is the final color, and this is the color that I'm aiming for the exterior also. As you can see, I did have the fuel lines removed and cleaned up everything and took my time. Going to the interior, Now the interior, this picture is when it's almost completely stripped out. I did take it a little bit further, and I did do a conversion, which I'll talk about later on, or maybe in another video. But at the end of the day, I took all the things, even that stuff that still you see out, and actually put in a sound barrier that also doubled as a thermal barrier as well. Because like I said, I want to be able to enjoy driving on the street, and all the little rocks and noises and stuff. Like, I'm not gonna be crazy about NVH, but it's definitely something that you don't want listening to when you're like on the highway. So this is Lola. Lola is a '04 WRX wagon, also known as a GG. This is the donor car, and this is her in her driving state. I chose to go for the full car because I had to convert so many things. It wouldn't make sense for me to buy the components separate. And also I have all the advantage of having the little bolts and brackets and everything that would help along the way. Speaking of space, like I said, you need space, but if you're doing this project, you're going to need a car to drive daily. So this is Mona. It's a 98 all-wheel drive Impreza L. Nothing really special about it. I did paint it, but some suspension, exhaust, but all that stuff is pretty basic. So have a car that you can drive daily. Don't think that you're going to do the swap overnight, on a weekend, or even in a month, in my opinion. Maybe you're faster than me, but I'm approaching this as a take your time situation. Take your time, do it right, and do it once. So once you have your engine and driveline out, and the exterior of the car stripped out, and then you got your interior stripped out, now it's time to take apart the donor car. Now, before even getting to this point, you should have a good idea of what harness am I running? Am I going to do the harness myself? Am I going to send it to a third-party company? Do I want the 95 components in it? Or do I want the newer components in it? All these things you need to plan before even starting the project, just so you know what you need to get. Here's a picture of the interior, maybe 10% complete. Under the carpet, that is brand new carpet. Under the carpet is the sound barrier and all that stuff. I'd spent a lot of time fitting the pedal box and setting the dash bar across, because I am doing a GG conversion, which that'll be an entire video if you guys want. So it takes some time and planning. So this is why you need that space, because all those seats and all those things you want to keep around, because if you might need a bracket or a bolt, you don't say, oh man, now I gotta buy it because I threw it out, or it may be really hard to find. This is just another picture of it, a little bit more together. I believe this is when I was still test fitting everything. There's wires and bolts and tools and everything everywhere. That's just how it goes. Like I said, just to reiterate, I know I've said it a million times already, but space. Because that dash and all those things, they had to sit somewhere, preferably in dry storage. What I ended up doing, because I only had 2 car spaces that were dry, I used the GG as a storage for the old stuff, and the GG sitting in the driveway. That's my buddy Snowflake, the cat. He's always around, watching things, making sure that I'm not messing anything up, or trying to. This is just a picture of the GG apart after everything's taken out. A very useful thing that I found years ago. Use what's around. I use dollies and a skateboard, as you can see, and a jack to lower the front subframe, the rear subframe. Whatever you don't have to take apart, don't take it apart. Obviously, you want to inspect it for safety and make sure everything is in working order, but if you can take out a whole assembly without breaking bolts loose or anything, like, go for it. Like I said, my skateboard was very useful. In this, I used a trans bridge on top for the front of the trans, and I used a jack in the back. And with this, I just slowly lowered the front then the back. But if you have a buddy, it'll go a lot faster, and you kind of lower the whole trans on the skateboard and just roll the trans out. You don't have to strain your muscles or drop the trans on the ground. It's not something that you want to do. You just roll it out. And the same approach with the rear. The rear, I obviously used its wheels. I unbolted the subframe and literally just rolled it out the back, and it's all assembled. I am still able to clean up everything if I want to clean it up, but it just makes your life a lot easier. This entire project was done without a lift. All I had was some jacks, a cherry picker, and my trans bridge. And it's going to take a little bit longer, but it worked out. And this is the GG after everything is stripped out. So what's on there now, that's the two-wheel drive front and rear subframe. You cannot really roll it very well with that because the bolt spacing for the front wheel drive does not match the all-wheel drive. So there's literally 2 bolts holding the front and 2 bolts holding the back. So use caution when you put it on a flatbed to tow it out to the junkyard or whatever, because it is not stable. And this is just the engine bay. After fitting, I cleaned up the subframe, obviously. After fitting the subframe in, everything bolts right in pretty easy. On the GC chassis, which is the 1995, there may be little stickers that cover up the all-wheel drive bolt holes if you got a front-wheel drive car, but they're all there. I used a tap and die set to clean out the threads before I inserted anything and torque everything down. It's really important to use torque specs. Don't skip out on it. You'll regret it. And here, one of the issues that I had in putting the underbody together was the gas tank. The gas tank from the GG is like slightly taller. As you can see, it's about 1.5 inches too tall for the GC. So what I did was I found this. It was a shifter, part of the shifter bushing from something I had laying around. I was going to cut it, but then as you can see from the line, it's almost as tall as that nut. So I just used a nut that was larger than the bolt that I was using and put that between with a couple of crush washers, and it fits fine. The bolt is very long, so it's not short on any threads. The gas tank is snug. I definitely wouldn't, put myself in a position where I have a flopping around gas tank. Now everything is tight. It works fine. The bolt isn't gonna break under load or anything. It's on there. And as you can see, the fuel pump assemblies on both sides, very accessible. I have no problems getting the pump in and out. It's aligned perfectly. Like there's no issues whatsoever. So the only issue I had with the tank was that one strap, literally on one side. The other side was fine. The one strap on, I think it was the passenger side, it was just too short. That's just a picture of the brakes, some DBS. I think now DBS has some racing pads. At the time they didn't, so I think I got some Stop Tech pads, and you can see I got the coilovers in. So literally the subframes, they bolt right in, and there's space for the trans bracket and everything. So yeah, that's it for this video. The next video I'm going to talk about the engine, figuring out what engine you want, and sorting that whole thing out, and really making your choices, and what I chose to go with, and the process of that is actually kind of fun. So that's it for this video. I know that I didn't go over what to do in the specifics of the swaps in this video, but I'll definitely try to be more open in the future, especially if you guys request it. So feel free to leave suggestions and questions in the comment section, and I'll try to address them as much as possible. So for now, thanks for watching, and take care.